We're continuing on with the Chapter 2 Skills Review 2-38, third column, Step 10, under Position Text on a Path. We just made a second copy of the hole-in-one in restaurant, and we sent it behind. So now it wants us to fill the back copies of the text with black, then move them 2 points up and 2 points to the right. This can be tricky. What we're going to do is we're going to try and hide these top 2 copies. Object, hide, selection, and then you know that you're selecting the bottom 2 copies. So I just selected the bottom 2 copies of text, and I'm going to fill them with black, and then move them 2 points up and 2 points to the right. So select them and then use your arrow keys to inch up and to the right 2 times. Okay, and now you can go to Object, Show All, and you notice some of it looks a little janky, but it's just showing you sort of how to do this. Go ahead and save your work, Control S. And now we're going to create and apply gradients. Apply the white-black radial gradient to the small white circle. Okay, so now I've selected the small white circle. I go to my gradient panel, and then I want to double click that, make sure it's available to you and easy to access. Under the type, go to radial. Okay, and now I have a white-black radial gradient. Some of the things you might want to do is play around with this a little bit. It looks a little weird, so if I can pull the white up just a little bit so I can read now open a little better, that's a good thing. Change the ending color stop to the radial ramp to smoke. Okay, so this radial stop here, select it, and then you want to change that to smoke. Go to your swatches, hover over, and look and see if they have smoke. Okay, and I did that. And another way you can do that is by dragging it and dropping it right onto that stopper. And then you can manipulate this back to how it was. Because I can't really see much of a transition. It's a little bit, but not much. Okay, step 3, save the new gradient to the swatches panel. So I have this gradient. I'm going to go ahead and do a okay, and so what you'll do then is just click on the gradient, save it to the swatches panel, click and drag and drop, and then it wants us to save that as golf ball. So double click it, and then you can name it golf ball and say OK. Step 5, fill the large green circle with the golf ball gradient as well. So go to your selection tool, click on the large green circle, and now we have it in a similar gradient, very subtle but similar. Step 6, change the starting stop color to pure yellow. So I'm clicked on the stop, pure yellow, click it, drag it, drop it right on the stopper. And change the ending stop color to little spout green. So let's find our green, let's click on our ending stop and then find our green, little spout green. Drag, drop it right onto that stopper. Little bright and ugly, and yours may vary from mine as well. Step 8, move the midpoint to the 80% location on the gradient slider. So we've got that here. You want it on the 80% So if you look below, that location is changing. 80%, close enough. All right, and now we're going to save the new gradient as the rough. So click this, drag it, drop it to the swatches panel, double click it, the rough. Say OK. Step 10, apply a 2-point black stroke to the large circle and the smaller peach circle. So since we're already selected on the large circle, you can add a 2-point black stroke by going to your stroke, making sure that panel is bumped out. You can also access it up here, but I like to access it on the panel because it gives me a lot of different options. Okay, now we have a 2-point black stroke, and we want to do that to the smaller peach circle. Make sure you're on that stroke again, and then just go ahead and bump it right up. I've got 2 points there in the middle, 2 points on the outside. And go ahead and save your work. Deselect, Control S. Okay, adjust a gradient and create a drop shadow. Step 1, click Object on the menu bar, then click Show All. I think we're already showing all because I showed all earlier when I wanted to select the text. Step 2, deselect all by clicking the artboard, just to get used to that object. If you've got something selected, you want to make sure that you deselect by clicking the artboard, and that's sort of a dance that you do with Illustrator. Step 3, select Now Open and convert the text to outlines. Make sure you're selecting on Now Open and not the text behind here. And you can tell that by these lines here. Okay, now convert it to outlines. Go up to Type, Create Outlines. Now it's art, and you cannot edit the text. It's now changed to paths. Step 4, fill the text with the white to black linear gradient. Since it's selected, linear gradient, so we want to make sure we're in the right gradient. You can go ahead and just click on the gradient and see what happened. I'm in the stroke, so I'm going to do Control Z, make sure I'm in the fill, and then I want to click on the gradient. I want it to be linear, and I want to make sure it is white to black or black to white, and I can see that it's already here, so I can just go ahead and click right on this one here instead of creating a new gradient. There's already one saved in my swatches panel for me. Okay, change the starting color stop to black. So that means I have to drag this to the stop. Create an intermediary white color stop at the 50% mark on the gradient slider. And we want that to be white. So grab your white swatch, drag it, and drop it right there. Now we're moving on to page 2-39, step 7, top left column. Drag the gradient tool starting at the top of the word Now to the bottom of the word Open. Go to Gradient tool and drag it. Change the middle color stop to the gradient to Latte. So let's look around and see if something looks like latte. Makes it sort of difficult here. Latte, where are you? There it goes. The middle stop, I believe it said, yep, the middle stop right there. Save the new gradient as Flash. drag it, drop it here, double click, flash, and then say OK. Deselect the text, so go to your selection tool, select on the artboard. Deselect or delete the green text from the bottom of the artboard. Delete. Convert the remaining text objects to outlines, and that would be easy. One of the things you can do is just a box select, and then holding down Shift, unclick the circle, and then go ahead and do Type, Create Outlines. Click this, Type as well, and then do Type, Create Outlines. Make sure this is an outline form. Looks like we've got paths everywhere, so we are now in outline form. Step 13, apply a 2-point black stroke to the 3 circles in the illustration. 2.5 black stroke. So I'm going to go down and make sure I'm in my stroke, and then 2.5, enter. Want to make sure that that is black. This was set at, I'm going to make sure I have the right one selected. It's not showing that there's any stroke, although there is. Make sure it's black, 2.5, enter. And then lastly, make sure this is at 2.5, enter. So I have all of these set at 2.5, 2.5, and then lastly 2.5. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and select all and then lock all objects. Select all, Control A, and then Object Lock. All artwork you can select, or just selection, because I have selected all, so now it's all locked. Save your work and compare your illustration to Figure 53, then close Restaurant Logo. So Control S, and it looks very similar. And you can then save this in your chapter skills review submission link for this week. We're now going to continue on with apply gradients to strokes by opening AI 2-5. Do a Control O. Open that up. Save it as gradient strokes to text. And then save it somewhere that you remember. Select the letter Z with the selection tool. Go to the selection tool, select the letter Z. Then verify that the stroke icon is activated at the bottom of the Tools panel, and it is. Click Type on the menu bar. Click Create Outlines. Click the white to cyan gradient swatch in the Swatches panel, which would be right here. The gradient is applied to the stroke. Note the 3 stroke buttons on the gradient panel. I've got these here. Click the third of the strokes. There we go. Click the reverse gradient button on the gradient panel. And that would be located right here. Okay, and then go ahead and save and close the file. You can deselect, Control S, close the file, upload this to the submission link, and I'll see you in next week's chapter skills review video. Have a good week, guys.